it's always impressive to see that heavy metal manages to survive in the US, especially with the quality they demonstrate. I'll admit that their name isn't the most appealing, and the vocals may take some getting used to for those who aren't familiar with them, but like many things in heavy music, when there's some difficulty in absorbing a certain element, the musicality, the weight, and the virtuosity are the things that will captivate us. And this album has all of that in generous doses. The guitars and their constant duels are absolutely delightful, as are the imagery and the vocal lines themselves. It's an album that every classic heavy metal lover needs to know. The world of heavy music is stagnant in terms of innovation, and that is undeniable. Don't get me wrong, I still love good hard and heavy, thrash, death, or black metal just as it was made 30 and in some cases 40 years ago. However, it is undeniable that in the last 15 years or more, no band has emerged that has both revolutionized heavy music and concentrated attention on itself. Heavy music that is fragmented into various genres and subgenres. All this to say that the Norwegians Agabas will definitely not be that band, but the music they present is undoubtedly refreshing and highly addictive. The term jazz has often been included in a genre as a way of attracting attention, and we have had some good examples of breaking with the norm and showing something different. Agabas does this, but without becoming too closed off in a box that is inaccessible to everyone else. Although their fusion of death metal or extreme music with jazz is not immediate, there is something very captivating about these 13 songs, which include a mind-blowing version of Black Sabbath's The Wizard, where the saxophone shines through. We love stories of persistence. This is undoubtedly one of them. A band that underwent countless lineup changes and, as a result, had an inconsistent career. Ben Katzman, one of the founding members, decided 20 years later to resurrect the band he had created in his teenage years. Considering that what we have here is crossover thrash metal and that 2 decades ago, everyone was into hardcore/metalcore or even nu metal, we can only be grateful for his persistence. Obviously, these songs are long past their embryonic stage, but you can understand why Katzman doesn't want to let go of what you hear here. Inspired thrash metal, especially in the guitar solos, that makes us headbang mercilessly. The Danish band Persecutor is back with a 3rd album that stands out in their discography. Although their thrash sound has always been modern, something that doesn't fade here, we have a well-defined traditional side that makes all the difference in the appreciation of this album. Something that connects very well with the corrosive content of these compositions. An album with no room to breathe without falling into the temptation of groove, and what we all like in thrash metal, innovation but never forgetting what is at its core, its values and traditional formulas. The opening track, with its short instrumental intro Disobey, immediately captivated me. So much so that when the vocals came in on the next track, Hellhounds, I couldn't help but feel a slight disappointment. This was because, given the instrumental, I was expecting something more refined. Even so, the impact didn't diminish much, and what remained in my memory was what Children of Bodom offered in their best moments. That is, high-quality instrumentation with vocals that worked in context but admittedly weren't at the same level. Teeth of Lamb thus present a thrash/death metal full of captivating melodies and virtuosity that won us over with little and kept us interested despite this whole issue with the vocals. An album that is worth discovering. With their 3rd album, the Norwegians deliver what is, to date, clearly their definitive album. It establishes their musical identity and dispels any doubts about their potential. Tony "Thunder" Johannesson's voice commands all this power, with a timbre that lies somewhere between Messiah Markelen, ex-Scandalmas, and Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden. Musically, the approach remains classic progressive metal, not so much in the vein of Dream Theater, but drawing on the tasty well of Fates Warning's early albums. The result is one of those albums that is a joy to discover with each listen. The Kerrigans are back with a second album that screams heavy metal from every pore. The sound is deliciously analog and organic, and the music itself seems to come straight out of the early 80s, yet sounds as essential as if the genre had just been born. And that is the main difference between a band that has a retro sound and merely tries to emulate the past, not always successfully, and a band that may seem purely nostalgic but clearly adds something new to the style in the present while paying due tribute to the classics of the genre. An approach that injects new blood and ensures the style's survival in the future, with captivating high melodic levels. Monstrosity's career has been plagued by misfortune, mainly due to instability in their lineup, with musicians constantly coming and going. The most significant departure was that of George Corpse Grinder Fisher, who left to join Cannibal Corpse after recording their second album, Millennium. However, despite this, the Florida band never had a bad album, even though they almost always remained in the shadows of the underground. Now, with more than 30 years of career, they have in this seventh album one of their most powerful, which is officially here at World of Metal, the Death Metal Edition for 2026. Yes, the year is not over yet, but that is the confidence that Screams from Beneath the Surface brings. A solid album that adds absolutely addictive lead lines and guitar solos and makes it a must to listen to on repeat. It still seems like yesterday when Ram-Zet burst onto the scene when melodic black metal was at its peak and offered something substantially different, even though the foundations of the style were present, albeit subliminally. Their popularity may not have grown beyond that initial impact, even fading slightly until a silence broke out in 2012 that has lasted until now. My skepticism about the validity of this comeback remained during a few listens, but it couldn't withstand the evidence that this is a must-have for all fans of bold progressive metal. Black metal has no weight here, and time has done no harm, as this seems to be the most inspired album of their entire career. Simply a must-have. Do you know that feeling when you have a premonition that somehow it will come true, no matter what? It's a mixture of that feeling we had as soon as we heard the intro to Rotting on a Golden Throne. And as soon as Pigs Will Be Pigs kicks in after the aforementioned intro, it was the confirmation we needed. Sharp and mind-blowing thrash metal that invites, or rather, compels you to headbang frantically. Simple but very well done and above all inspired. Organic production but far from sloppy. Brutal in its metallic violence, but still featuring melodic solos and leads. In short, everything that thrash metal has to offer.